Hello, welcome to Hanging with Howie. I have my illustrious cast with me as usual. We have DJ Mikey Mike is joining us tonight. We have Buddy, and we have one of my very good friends, Mr. Brian S. Red, and the man that will be using me like a rented mule. We have Eric from Lake Placid. We have John Colley from Boston, and of course from Swinging Temecula, California, Mr. Jay Brennan. Hey guys, I saw something. I had a different topic, and if we have time, we can cover it. But I was watching the national news tonight, and they were showing a wedding in San Francisco in front of a very famous museum that's very picturesque for those type of events. It has a fountain and the whole bit. Three guys, all in black pull down, masks, with just the eyes and the mouth open. And they bum rushed the photographer to steal the photography equipment. Wow. It's the second time it happened in a week. It's a big thing. And this guy is rolling around on the ground, holding on to his cases and stuff, and that straps it on the camera and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna shoot the guy, Well, they didn't, but they broke the straps. They ran off with the stuff. And I was just like, you know what? I am so glad I have insurance on my stuff for to be like, I think personally, I would have just said, guys, you can have the equipment, but please allow me to take the SD card out just for the bride and groom, and you can have the stuff. I'll report it to insurance. What are your thoughts on this stuff?
First, I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it either.
I do a lot of events in areas of San Diego where they choose to do it in front of the fountain near a museum, or there's an area, if you've ever been to San Diego, called Balboa Park that has a bunch of structures, and they do outdoor events. And it's been the bane of my existence when I get those events where my ceremony is 300, 400, 500, 600 feet away from the reception, and I'm doing this. The running back, oh, I forgot something. And I look around me and I'm like, does anyone really care that I've got, a controller, a speaker, a laptop? And I'm anal. I'll take the laptop and the hard drive with me. They won't stay. If this were to become a trend, I would switch gear. I would go to something that runs in, a USB drive or an SD card and take the laptop out of the equation. I'll be honest. I don't leave laptops or headphones or mics when the event breaks down. Like, that stuff goes to the car first, and as I've said before, it goes to the gig last. The fact that there's a possibility of me getting jumped at a gig, yeah. How far would I fight? I don't know. I own the laptops. They mean a lot to me. I think you'd have to make a rational decision, like, there's three of them I'll probably lose, but somebody's at least going to get a broken nose out of this deal. Like, I'd at least swing on somebody. But I think the bigger question, Howie, for me is, moving forward, do I ask clients for next year? I notice we're doing the ceremony in this very public area. Have you hired adequate security to verify that your guests are safe? Your vendors are safe?
Yeah.
I mean, a photographer, they're walking around every public venue you can imagine with 10 grand worth of cameras.
Right.
I can tell you from personal experience living in Southern California, people are getting robbed in broad daylight left and right, and their Rolexes are getting popped.
I felt terrible because in the video, they showed the bride bent over, holding her knees, crying her eyes out. And I was like, my first thought was someone's going to pull a gun out, you know
what? It's a reality that until you brought it up tonight, I always pushed way off into the side. Because we all know, I won't say names, but we know probably 5 DJs in this country that actively carry weapons to their events. They have concealed carry permits,
right?
And they're legally allowed to carry a gun, and they feel a wedding is a place to bring a gun. I don't, but there are areas of town where I would want someone with me. If I need to bring a gun to your event, then I'm the wrong DJ to be at your event.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago, you're going to get shot. Everyone knows that. There's no way around that. Racine, you're probably going to get addicted to crack or something. Again,
I saw a look on Buddy's face. Buddy, what are he's like the dog, the RCA Victor dog. He's got his head.
Yeah.
What's up, Buddy?
Buddy's attitude is, well, what gun should I shoot him with that I happen to have on me?
Yeah. Here's what I brought to your wedding.
Should I use the Glock or should I use the old school 6-shooter? What should I use to blow this guy's head off?
The 1911 is loud, but they'll be dancing later. So I'll choose to go with something subsonic after dinner.
So, Buddy, do you have that on your planning form? Which gun you're going to bring?
No. Weapons are not allowed at weddings. But the thing is that I saw that video, what you're talking about, and it's very disheartening to see that. It's especially in a major city. As a professional, would I defend my equipment within reason? I'm not want to jeopardize my life or the safety of my wife or safety of guests or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But someone's going to come up there and try and intimidate to try to take something. I'm going to defend to a certain level. But the thing is that it's one of the things that I would never, want to put myself in a situation to be hurt. And that's the thing. Yeah, insurance will cover part of it. Our equipment, the lucky thing for us, speakers and controllers are not light things. Laptops are, and laptops can be swiped very quickly. That's what I would be worried more about. Right. But it's also being due diligence and keeping your head on a swivel and, look for things. I'm blessed to have Tracy. We have a big wedding. We may have more employees with us, or maybe 2 or 3, even 4 of us there working. So it's one of the things that I have that blessing. But if you're by yourself, like Jay is a lot of times, or like yourself or Brian, and you're working outside, your head's got to kind of be on a swivel a little bit, especially these days. And it doesn't matter if it's a nice area, an okay area, or whatever. These people are idiots. Now I will say that, the criminals, and they're looking for easiest opportunities possible.
Yeah, they're opportunistic.
They see that, they're going to go after that.
Yeah.
Well, and in California, they're not getting busted. And even if they get arrested, the way it works out here, a lot of times they're just simply released. We had a 22-year-old kid drive into 75 police recruits last week, seriously injuring, I think, 20 of them. Because they couldn't put charges to him within 48 hours, they after arresting him, they released him. He's out. Now, they may file charges and rearrest, but that's the laws of California. It's gotten really bad out here. Mm-hmm. In some states where there's no bail, I mean, what's the big deal? So you get busted, you go to the police station, and you're out in 2 hours. No
consequences.
So I think that tempers the activity. The fact that Howie brought this up, if you said to me 10 minutes ago, can you believe a photographer got jumped at a wedding and their gear got stolen? I'd be like, you're making that up.
Well, jumped in a public place. It was a crime of opportunity. They didn't go there.
It was public, and
I don't know, John. I don't know.
And they got in a car and they were gone. It's like,
unless there's always a photographer out in front of those spots, and they're like, "Hey, we can score some camera equipment here."
Right.
Unless it's a bad trend, it's a bad pattern. Now you're predictable.
I'm sure the comments. I mean, how many times? If I was a photographer, I'd be scared S-less because how many engagement photo sessions do I do where it's a bride, a groom, and me, and I say, "Oh, let's go to the Boston Commons. Let's go down to the Boston Public Garden. Let's go to Balboa Park. Let's go to Point Loma, where we're on a cliff alone. No one's around us, and I'm snapping away, and all of a sudden 3 thugs in masks come up and take my stuff." That reality, sadly, really never entered the realm of it.
Well, Eric, I know you don't have to worry about that because the events I've done with you up there, there's cops all over the place. And
people pretty much know I'm crazy as well.
I met a lot of
people know better than to steal from me. Because I hadn't heard of this and I started to think about it. I'm in such an area where I get done the ceremony, I immediately shut down and I just close the lid and I go right inside. And I'll go back and get it 2-3 hours later because I'm working the events and that's just the way it is up here. But what would I do if I encountered the situation? Fortunately, I'm carrying a backup hard drive and a backup laptop. I go, "Oh my God, here, take it. Get the fuck out." Whoops. Edit, bleep, get out of here. Yeah. And then I pull the laptop back out and I pull the hard drive out and the party would keep going.
Right.
So.
But isn't it sad we even have to have this discussion? Like the whole point of carrying a backup laptop, has 100% been because if something goes wrong with it, not that someone comes along and takes it. That was never on my list of okay, I carry 2 laptops.
It's not the reason.
I did a wedding at a private residence 2 weeks ago and said to the guy, hey, after the ceremony, I can break down and move it to my car, or I can leave it there and then start the cocktail hour. What I need to know from you is there any watering? And he goes, oh no, it's all underground water and it's shut off for the event. Great. Then if it's okay with you, I'll leave the gear there, including the laptop, because it's a private residence. And then as I walk over to start cocktail, I go, and walk back and took the hard drive and the laptop and put them in my bag. Because I'm like, why give somebody, if they walk around the side of the house, why put it in a criminal's head who's a guest at the wedding? Shit, we can take off with this laptop.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a $20 bill on the fishing line, right?
Yeah, exactly. Why put a carrot up?
I have one of my DJ friends. He was doing a wedding a few years ago at a hotel, and he's now retired. He's a former police officer, so he's a retired police officer. And this is when he was still on the job, and he was doing a wedding, and the photographer comes up to him and goes, "Hey, did you see my camera? I put my camera behind you." He's like, "No, I didn't see anything. You didn't tell me. I eyes in the back of my head, but he put it around his area behind him, not next to him, but in the internal vicinity." And the guy was looking for the camera, could not find the camera. So the camera and the lens and the SD card from everything from the pre-ceremony, all the getting ready stuff, the ceremony, all the speeches, all up to dinner time and after dinner when he started to do the later half, were gone. So my friends talk to security here at the hotel, look at videotape, see there's cameras, and you think about at a hotel, you have all these staff members come walking in and out, in and out, in and out, and we have faith in the hotel or the facility or the venue hires people who are above board. But who's to say someone will walk in and take a tablet or takes a computer or takes something that you have sitting there? It can happen, and being prepared and having an extra computer, hey, that's great. But also maybe sometimes having, an extra person, a friend, someone to come help you. Hey, you mind watching this for a little bit? So that way it's a little bit of a deterrent. Can you stop everything? No, but the things, if you have it somewhat of a deterrent, so that way people are not looking at to take stuff, you might be better off.
Buddy, Pulse, Christian, who I think Brian definitely knows, Howie, John, Eric, he had his headphones stolen at a gig before the gig started, like 10 years ago. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I got everything set up. I was in this one area. And then I had to go do the ceremony. When I came back, the headphones weren't there. I'm like, what? Yeah. So it got me on this, and I shot a video for YouTube that was the headphones, the laptops, and the hard drives are the last things to go in and the first things to come out.
That
I don't have to worry.
That happened to Max from Max Designs at AC this past year. He walked away from his booth for 5 minutes. He came back and his headphones were gone.
In the showroom?
Yeah, in the showroom. Yeah.
Wow, well, I can tell you after 18 years, we've had one pair of headphones. And from day one,
I took them.
I thought it was fine.
They're in my bag.
We either would Loctite the connectors on the headphones and the cable, which at the time was like, this is insane. And then we realized, no, we'll just zip tie them to the back because
I noticed that now.
You can make a criminal out of a person that may not be a criminal by giving them an opportunity. Yep. We did a show years ago where a guy plugged his USB drive into one of our laptops and started ripping the music from our laptop onto his SD card.
Brilliant. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So that was when we stopped putting 20 gigs of music on the laptops. And now the laptops have 3 categories: scratch, dance, and urban, because I do it. And there's 20 tracks in each one. So they're only holding 60 songs for the show.
I want to go ahead and...
I have to ask, Jay, the guy who was stealing the music, besides asking him to leave, did you contact facility security for them to be escorted off the premises?
Well, buddy, to be completely honest with you, sadly, I knew him. He was a San Diego DJ who now has moved to somewhere in the Midwest. And I was told, this dude's stealing our music. And people got all irate. And I said, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, right. Treat it that
way. I know you. We've worked a gig together. He's like, oh man, I didn't think it would be a big deal. Cause like, I go, no, it's totally stealing. I'm like, give me the flash drive. He's like, yeah, but I go, just give me the flash drive. So I said, you can't come back in the booth. He took off. I go, I got his flash drive. Everyone was okay with it. But from that point forward, I could never trust him.
Right. All right, let's hear from the voice of reason.
Contacting.
I'm just trying to get a word in here.
No, all I wanted to say was good job on triggering Jay, Buddy, and Eric tonight. Good job.
Hey.
Because you have said anything that would have triggered these guys more than that. Those 3 specific guys. No, I like what Jay said about security. Yep. So that's probably a smart thing. And, once word of this gets out, I'm hearing of it for the first time right now. Probably will have security in public places. I mean, if you're in San Francisco and you're getting married in front of a major landmark, I have a feeling this isn't a budget wedding, so they probably could have afforded some security people. This may be protocol. Stuff like this happens, and now we need something in place to deter it.
Or it's a new industry that doesn't
flash
exist
mobs
yet.
that raid the Louis Vuitton store, same kind of thing.
Well, this is
right.
I told you, Trigger, you did this. Good job.
This is one of the things that when I just did a wedding up in Racine, just south of Bryan. And I did a few towns here. I've done weddings. The village, town, city, where the municipality is, requires a off-duty PO to be there to make sure no one gets any arguments after that. But it's kind of a deterrent as well, in case someone wants to take something. You already have security there. They have to pay for that officer to be there, but they have an agreement with the municipality, be it a county or whatever, to have an off-duty PO, police officer or sheriff's deputy or whoever, they're working the event. And I feel that maybe more and more municipalities need to adapt that, more and more facilities need to embrace that and have that there, especially in an area that may have a problem. And again, like I said before, it's the areas that they're going to go to. These people who are stealing are going to go to areas that they know they can take something. That they're going to need something there. They're not going to go to an area that there's nothing there to take.
Right.
So it's one of the things when you have a nice facility like that in front of a beautiful venue. Again, like Brian is right. They should be able to afford an off-duty PO or a hired private security or something.
Yeah,
something to deter.
Yeah, but buddy, you're saying villages. We're talking cities. This isn't Renaissance.
Well, Racine is a city.
I mean,
Racine's a major city. I mean, it doesn't have skyscrapers, but
no. But I think you've got to look at the event. And the question becomes, do we, Brian, as DJs, need to be proactive and say, are you hiring security for the event? Are we going to start?
I've asked that question before for certain events.
You have?
I'm not afraid to ask it.
Well, let me ask you this, Brian.
Here's one of the things:
weddings or other events.
Here's one of the things:
depending on the size and where they are.
Wedding, have you hired security?
Sure.
The village of Naperville,
depends on what it is.
The village of Naperville, which is like 160,000 people. That's how the government is divided in 3 ways in Illinois. But one of the government agencies is called a village. So the village of Naperville, it's like 150,000, 160,000 people. They require security at an event. So if you have a wedding inside the municipality of Naperville, you have an event venue, you have to hire security, private security or off-duty POs to come work those events.
Let me throw this.
There are plenty of weddings there when they have that.
Let me finish what I was going to say. Let me just throw this at you because I was thinking about this and processing this as you guys were talking. In my contracts, okay, well, now whether it's legally binding or not, it states that the customer is responsible for stolen or damaged equipment.
Yes.
It doesn't say who stole it or who damaged it. All right. So if we're in a situation where there's not security, if I'm not safe, I'm at the wrong event. Right. I need to be safe. Okay. 100%. I can assume I'm safe in the middle of a cornfield. I can. I can't assume I'm safe.
Children of the corn
in the city somewhere. I can't. I mean,
right.
And it's not like I'm, well, a lot of you guys know me. I'm really not afraid of anything, but I should never be in a situation where there's danger, So, I mean, we're here. I don't want to get too into this other stuff, but we're hearing about mass shootings and things now. People just walking into places and pop. Yeah. This is a thing that happens. It's not going away. Because of these things, security should be tightened at all public events or even private events like this. I feel like, and it should be mandatory. Some of these halls should, need it. I mean, we shouldn't need to just happen to have somebody there with combat training to neutralize the situation. We should have somebody there who is a professional and might deter it from happening in the first place, like Buddy had suggested.
Right.
Hey, look, it's in the contract. Lost stolen items. They're your problem. Doesn't matter if somebody bum rushed me or what. I'm on your clock right now, and this happens. So,
well, it's the end of the year. It might be a good time to reevaluate contracts and just establish with a lawyer, hey, where do I stand on this? Because the reality is we all should be updating to what is going on around us, which is things are getting more dangerous.
The reason it's in the contract, okay, isn't so I have a legal leg to stand on, because I don't know that it would make a difference. The reason it's in the contract is so the client is aware that if their drunk uncle knocks my crap over, it's their problem. So maybe you should keep the drunk uncle away from my crap. That's why it's there. If a kid grabs a light, hey, kid, put the light back. We got to pay for this stuff. They're more aware of it if they're someplace. And again, the more this stuff comes out, the more it may be the norm where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm responsible for this stuff. Maybe I should bring security in just in case.
Well, and that's you and I have talked. I know your contract is it Microsoft?
Yeah.
Purchasing?
I got it from Art.
Right. Mine is a self-made, but through supervision of a lawyer. And mine has the same sort of clause of, hey, if intentional or unintentional damage is done to equipment through guest of client or client, you're responsible.
I take that out.
Drunk.
Don't specify who. Well, they weren't a guest, so it's not your problem.
Yeah.
In this case,
see, that's my point, Brian. Now I've got to rethink this and go to my lawyer and say, hey, what do I need to do to protect myself 110%? But I also now need to rethink certain venues in certain areas. And that's where I think you're going to see people go, at least in my area, more to the backyard weddings because they're in their own house. They feel pretty damn safe in their own house.
Yeah.
Their own people. Side note, my wedding reception was 2 floors. First floor was cocktail. Second floor was reception. I hired security 22 years ago just to stand at the door with the understanding that if random people wanted to get in, they couldn't. Either you're on a list or you're not. And somebody said, I can't believe you hired security. I'm like, we're in a public area where people are wandering around at a marina.
Well,
they could just hear the music and go, let's go upstairs. And I don't want that. I want
maybe an interesting topic or something to talk about would be the pros of having security at an event. Is it just for being bum rushed, or is it to keep, Uncle Twat from starting a fight?
I'd say all of the above.
Yeah, it's just to be hard for any kind of things like Buddy experienced in Racine. I've experienced BS in Racine at gigs multiple times. Not every time I've played Racine, but twice I've experienced effery at gigs in Racine. And it's all stuff that would never have happened if there was somebody there in uniform just standing there smiling. And none of it would have happened.
When you think about it, if they're spending that kind of money to be in that fountain, it's probably a $40,000-$50,000 wedding.
Oh, right? I think you're probably on the light side.
Yeah, it's
so. What would be the big deal of paying an off-duty police officer $500 to stand around and eat hors d'oeuvres?
Yeah, or a grand, whatever.
Because it's never happened before that we've known of. That's where they didn't hire security.
They didn't hire it
because up until tonight, this was not on anyone's map.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
But you talked about it earlier about the smash and grabs at like Tiffany's and stuff. The flash mobs. Now that this is out all over, not just the major TV networks, it's probably all over social media by now. That this could be a new thing. Hey, we could run up there, grab that shit, and get back in the car and go.
Well, we've created a new industry. We've created guys in suits that look like guests who are actually $75 an hour security to verify. And maybe it's up to venues to say, we need you as the client to take out a $1 million liability policy. Like in California, every venue I work, the bride and groom take out a liability policy against the venue.
Really?
No, and it's only like $150 for the day. But maybe the venues now need to say, you also need to provide unarmed, out of uniform security. And now there's a new industry.
I'm thinking the insurance company will probably require it for coverage. We'll cover you as long as you do this, this, and this.
Maybe
that could very well be.
I get the inside thing, but if you're out in front of a museum, a public place, I would want a uniformed officer there with a gun on his hip.
Yeah.
Just okay. Let's pretend nobody stole anything. Let's pretend somebody streaked through the wedding.
I didn't do it.
Let's just pretend Buddy streaked through the wedding. Okay. Buddy and some of the bear friends decide to get naked and run through the front of the museum. Security was there, it wouldn't have happened. So, but I'm thinking about, we don't require stuff until we find out we need stuff. Think about the whole fog machine phenomenon.
Right.
I used fog machines forever, and then all of a sudden they started setting off fire alarms. So you either A, don't use them, or B, bring in an off-duty fire marshal to do a fire watch. That's how it works now. But we didn't think to do that until the first alarm was set off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's the same thing with this. It's less about particularly the theft and more about just the deterrent. Maybe we need a deterrent. And hell, who knows? Maybe a fire marshal would have been enough of a deterrent. Somebody there in uniform would have been enough of a deterrent. We don't know.
It just would be funny, Brian, to have the same conversation 35 minutes ago before Howie said this. This same conversation would be completely different. Hey, do you guys think we should have security at weddings? Nah, we're fine. What are we
upset Buddy and Jay and Eric? What are you doing?
This just in. Right. Oh, no. Oh, no.
I don't know. I truly enjoyed having that police officer there, seeing an officer, and other venues too. Again, off-duty police officer or security guard. I feel much safer because, again, I don't feel a threat of theft so much. It's more or less people drinking in excess, and then, beer muscles grow. Someone says something to someone, and you have someone there as a neutral party, hopefully can calm it down, and everybody can enjoy themselves the rest of the night. It kind of gets me to think twice before doing something. And I'd much rather have that than, God forbid, something should happen to a guest or myself or anyone.
I like uniformed security. And it could be an off-duty cop, it could be security. I go to Home Depot. There's a guy there in a uniform that
makes you think twice.
Yes.
Maybe not you, but it would make a person.
Well, right. I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, I could probably take him. I got one arm. But you see the uniform, you think twice.
Yeah,
you do.
He's at least going to hit you with a stick.
I felt very safe up there. The first time I went up to your help you out, Eric.
Yeah.
I got pulled over for a taillight out, and the guy
These are the stories I don't hear.
The guy was the nicest guy ever. I said, "Oh, you need this?" He goes, "No. What are you doing up this way? Because of out-of-state plates and whatnot." And I said, "Oh, I'm doing such and such an event for Good Guy Productions, and it's the Olympics." That was the do or die, the trial thing.
Yep.
And he goes,
and
I told him what venue I was looking for, and he goes, "Oh, I'm working at that thing tonight." And I was like, "Oh, cool, man." I go, "Well, what do you need?" He goes, "Just your license. I just got to. I have to run it because it's on camera." So he came back in like less than 2 minutes, and he goes, "You're good." And he said, "My name's Ken." He says, "I'll see you tonight." And I did see him, and I went, "Hey, Ken, how you doing, man?" And I felt
he's using my get out of jail free cards.
I felt like a rock star up there. Here he is at one of the gates, and "Hey, Ken, how's it going? Hey, Howie."
I think we got
fix your tail light, or I'll beat you next time. Side of the road.
The 90s made us get too trusting, because it dawned on me. When I was at El Tritos in 1990 as a bartender, we did karaoke on Thursday nights. We had a uniformed Saugus police officer at the door because we would have a 30, 40-minute wait to get in. And granted, the bar held like 350 people. It was a decent-sized bar. But he was there because either the establishment made a deal with the cops and said, "Hey, on karaoke, we get slammed. We need a cop," or whatever. But a couple times I worked without an officer, and we had beefs and problems. And next thing you know it's like the entire bar staff's jumping over the bar to get in a fight.
Yeah.
And it's like
better to have a detail there to just prevent that in the first place. Just to call him a detail.
We always had a detail. And he'd be like this little dude, but he had the gun, he had the badge, he had the nightstick, and people realized, hey, if I screw around, I'm getting a nightstick upside the head. Again, this is 100 years ago, back when police had authority.
Well,
unlike today, we've completely taken all their power away because we're all wusses.
Oh, stop it! Stop it! I told you, good job on triggering these guys.
Wow.
So,
I did 2 events that if you go to a venue most of the time for a wedding, they have the gift box right by, or the card box right by the entrance. And 2 weddings, guests came in and they weren't even guests of the wedding. Boom.
Raise your hand if that's happened to you. I've had it happen once.
Had it happen.
Yeah.
A couple of times. Yeah.
But if you
How do you do that to
check,
someone?
they can't cash a check, but all the checks were laying in the parking lot.
Yeah. Well,
that would, it would be really interesting if a place like San Francisco, after this, would require a certain checklist of things that you had to have before you had a public event like that.
Well,
they would.
It would be interesting.
First of all, they had to have a permit to have the ceremony there. Probably the next thing will be you have to have security.
Well, why would they?
Why would they?
Well,
who was going to sit there in town hall and go, wow, heard about a photographer we have to add security to these guys.
No, what I'm saying is that you have to do permits to do things like that. You can't just go do them.
Right.
You have to have a permit.
They're going to do what they do now, which is some lazy government employee is going to hand out a permit as fast as they can.
Never mind then.
Boom. I don't think they're going to consider the safety of the crowd and the event. I genuinely don't. Especially San Francisco. They're out of control with it.
It's less about the safety of the crowd, I believe, and more about something that they don't have to deal with later.
Right.
So it's a deterrent, like we were talking about.
I've seen
government's not big on deterrence. They're big on how to take care of it after it happens. That's just my take on it, guys. Sorry.
Well, I saw it in Jersey with the sparklers. They had a couple of them indoors, and then they got those Chinese knockoff ones. They had problem one time, and now any venue that you use in Jersey, you have to get a permit, and you also, you have to have a pyro license, and you still have to have a fire guy there, whether he's a marshal or
same way here.
Yeah,
even for the sparklers.
Interesting.
Yep. For inside,
it doesn't cost. And it doesn't cost anybody to just require these things. It doesn't cost the city.
I remember your video, Brian, 100 years ago about getting a fire marshal for that school dance you did.
Right.
We used a fogger and you cleared the building because the smoke alarms went off.
No. There wasn't one.
But you did a video about how getting a fire marshal.
I was assured by the hall that this wasn't going to be a problem.
Right.
And it was a problem. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. You had the red, really cool sounding truck at the time.
Straight pipes.
Yeah, straight pipes sound good. Every truck. I'm sorry.
Straight pipes and Suburban sounds good too.
Anybody else?
Brian's Suburban sounds awesome. He's got good exhaust on.
Anybody else here that didn't get a chance to speak much have any final thoughts?
Most of our venues around here do have some sort of security. I don't care if it's a wedding, whatever type of event that they're having there. The Woodlands, Howie, you probably heard of the Woodlands. They have security there for weddings, for everything. I mean, they're pretty tight on that. And then there's some venues that just don't give a shit. They don't care who comes in and who goes out.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of venues that do have security.
Let's not let this get out of hand and become a vigilante thing with DJs and photographers. Let's be professional and understand gun control is hitting the target every time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'm going to build a James Bond booth.
Good job, Howie. Yeah. Good job. Great time.
Guns is going to have,
okay.
It's going to be a
gun at the
big
bottom of my
show.
shoe.
Let's talk about taxes next week. That'll be great.
Taxes and death.
With that said, thank you, Jay, and everybody else that was triggered.
Road Dog.
Next week, we're going to talk about the florists and flowers and so forth like that. So as always, when this finally gets to YouTube, leave comments if you have a topic you'd like us to cover. And until then, we'll see you next week.